So, Spider-Man on Sony X900e. This will be recorded in 4K, by the way. Am I surprised that Marvel Spider-Man on PlayStation 4 Pro looks really good? No, I'm not surprised. I told you guys from the beginning that Spider-Man's going to look really good, especially with the HDR. Why the HDR? Because of the environment. This game has an open world in a city that's vibrant, full of lights, dynamic time. Yes, there is morning, there is afternoon, there is night, and yes, there is rain. Sometimes there's thunder. There's cloudy, partly cloudy weather. So the game looks very sharp in terms of graphics and textures. Now, the 4K, it's a different story. They're using different types of 4K here. Okay, they're using a dynamic 4K. I already spoke about dynamic 4K. And I don't have time to explain dynamic 4K in this 10-minute video. That's for a different subject, for a different video. You guys can learn about dynamic 4K. You can go on to Google and learn about it. All I can tell you about dynamic 4K is it fluctuates, okay? But it never goes down below 3560. Actually, it never goes below 2560 by 1300. So if it ever goes low, it goes down to 2560 by 1300 sometimes, then it goes up to 3560 by 1900. But usually stays around 3560 by 1900. But it fluctuates. But however, it's a higher source resolution than 1080p. So it's going to look sharper on the upscale to 4K. It's going to look sharper on your 4K television, just like it looks sharper here right now. As you can see him jumping around, doing a bunch of acrobat stuff. Like right here, look at the lighting, the volumetric light here. It's really amazing, especially when you do a photo mode. Here you can see me. Especially in the photo mode, just look at the dynamic light, the volumetric light, and the HDR that's represented here. Now, a lot of people have been asking me, what sort of settings should I use on Sony X900e? Well, I'm going to show it to you guys. I'm going to show you exactly why you should use these settings that I'm going to implement right now for you. Now, this is interesting. Why is this guy over here? What happened? I don't know. This guy happened to be here. There was a fight, so he landed there. That's funny. All right, so let's talk about the type of picture settings that I implement here for Spider-Man. So let me go through this. Let me walk you guys through it really quick. Okay, so obviously here, as you can see on the television, I've switched from my cinema mode that you saw earlier to game mode. Now, cinema mode is something that I recommend for the movies, and you should always save your cinema home mode for a movie's presets. So whenever you switch to a movie to watch a movie, you can go ahead and switch to a cinema home mode and watch a movie, because the picture settings that I have implemented on cinema home mode, they're perfect for the movies, and they're meant only for the movies. Now, for the game, I chose to go with the game mode, so that way you can remember what presets to go with when you switch between a movie and a game. I'm using a game mode here on Sony X900e. Obviously, as you can see right here on the right, it does have HDR. So the luminance brightness, the backlit has to be set to the maximum. The contrast has to be set to the maximum because we have HDR. Black levels, there are 50. All of these right here, these extra accolades that came in with X1 processing chip, I would leave all of these at high, because you remember, you're trying to take the advantage of X1 processing chip, and you're trying to take the advantage of HDR. All of these set to high are going to help your high dynamic range. Now let's go back to color. The color, I left it at 53. I felt 53 is just a perfect little touch on the colors. It's not oversaturated, it's just the right amount next to a default zone. Color temperature, I left the color temperature at neutral because this is a game and I don't want to have too much of that cold blue, nor do I want to have too much of that yellow warm. So I'm trying to keep the temperature in between warm and cool, in between. Live color, you want to use this because you want to brighten up your colors, especially for the HDR. Clarity, I left the sharpness at 34. I felt sharpness at 34 is the right amount of enhancements of digital sharpness that I needed here. Motion, turn this off, guys. You really don't need this. I'll talk about motion flow some other time, but for a video game, you don't need this. Turn this off. And video options, obviously, you want to keep everything on automatic. Everything should be left on automatic. Let your HDMI cable communicate with your device and let it decide what's the best proper output. Alright, so let me show you the gameplay a little bit. Let's do this, shall we? Alright, so we're inside this building. There might be a spoiler alert here, but nothing to the point where it's gonna be, you know, crazy. I don't know if it shows up on the camera, but the HDR in this room here, it really just shines. Alright, so let's go ahead and let's open this door.
You guys all right? We were just about to call for backup. Think I'm in. Lead the way.
As you can see, nothing's being oversaturated here. The color, it's perfect. It's at 53. The X1 processing enhancements that we used also help HDR here as well. So there's definitely a nice balanced picture here. A lot of people say if you use a game mode, oh, am I gonna lose any picture quality? Depends on how you adjust it, you know. It's like anything else. It really depends on how you adjust these picture settings. I want to show you something really quick. Let's go to a photo mode. I want you guys to see this. Look at the smoke and look at the HDR here. Just look how beautifully that HDR presented here with the smoke. I want you guys to see this. Just look at this. And look how that light it's being projected right into the Spider-Man. And look at that smoke, the way it's being presented. I just wanted to show you this really quick so you guys can see it. And the amount of detail that's put on characters, it's really amazing as well. And it really looks good. Look at that smoke right there. So when people start talking about the downgrade, those are the type of people, they're either a Xbox fanboys or they're just clickbaiters. They want to start a controversy, you know, so they can get the views. Remember, it's internet, man. There's all kinds of people out there. Now you can also grab things and throw away, which is kind of cool. You know, this game does have a little bit of that Arkham Knight feel to it sometimes, you know. I do have to admit, you know, watching this game, it does have that Arkham Knight style to it. But it's not totally Arkham Knight, you know, because this is a Marvel game. Alright, so I'm gonna end this video right here. All of these videos are going to be 10 minutes because they're shot in 4K, so I'm trying to avoid any spoilers, but at the same time trying to bring you guys a 4K footage here. So there you have it. It's my first video of Sony X900e. There you go.